Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joko Sipeliti. I make videos on motherhood, parenting, lifestyle, beauty, and all those fun stuff. I'm a mom of 3 kids. They're aged 5, 3, and almost 2 years old. And I just try to share the tips and tricks I've learned in having multiple small kids, being a mom, and being myself in this journey of life. And yeah, I hope it's helpful. So I'm not going to make this intro very long. The topic for today is the reality of having multiple kids, where I'm just going to tell you the pros and cons of having a lot of kids so you can decide if you want to have one or if you want to have more than one. But yeah, I've ditched the notebook that I always write on, and I'm just using my laptop because I feel like it's working smarter. Just helps me stick to the points that I want to talk to you guys about, so I don't ramble on and just make the video unnecessarily long. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, so like I said, I'll be using my trusted MacBook to make sure that I stay on track with regards to what I want to say. Let's get started. I'm going to start with all the cons and then end off with all the positive, just to leave the video on a high note, okay? So the con number one, obviously it gets tiring sometimes. Obviously, pregnancy is demanding on its own. The fatigue that you get is unreal. But being pregnant while you have young kids as well, it gets really tiring. I mean, and then once you give birth and you're breastfeeding and you have to look after other younger kids around, that can also get quite challenging. So what I did with this regard is, this is why I actually opted to exclusively pump with my second and my third, because it just freed up that time. So I actually had time, and I was able to give more attention to the other kids around me. But some people can breastfeed and take care of their toddlers. I mean, you can do that, but just giving you the options that I did. And then also balancing the fatigue and the sleepless nights, especially in the first period of having a newborn, with the other routine of your other toddlers, can be really hard, or kids in general. In the beginning though, it gets easier. Okay. Number two, your time is definitely split. There's only so much time in the day and your life, and you can only focus so much on each child and yourself. For me, I found that having a set routine really helped me with regards to time, getting things done, making sure each child is given the attention that they need, as well as giving me time. So if it means if I have to set a schedule and know that Friday nights are mommy's on this day, and it just works better for us as a family. So routines and schedules really got us a long way when it comes to time. Like I always say, just because I have 3 kids doesn't mean they're all jumping on my lap wanting my attention at the same time. They really don't. Usually there's one child on my lap, or they're mostly playing with each other. So being able to recognize and grab one on the side and do something if they're playing alone, away from the others, just allows me to give them each their individual attention, because I hardly ever have all 3 wanting attention from me. Like, it's literally once in a blue moon. Okay. Number 3, you will become the official peacemaker. Guys, the reality is that siblings they get along, but they will fight and there will be disagreements. And my kids generally get along really well. They play really well, but there are days when they can't stand to be in the same room, let alone see each other. There's obviously going to be fights. And guess what? You're going to be the mediator. Have you ever tried to figure out what the problem is among toddlers, and their stories aren't even making sense? You don't even know whose side to take. So that's the reality of it, is that you'll be mediator. And I know that it's not just toddlers, it's kids. As soon as they grow, teenagers, the older they get. I've heard other parents of older siblings say, my kids are 30 years old and they still fight. So it's just one of the things as parents, is that you'll always be mediator when you have more than one child. Okay. And then number 4, which I feel like is the most obvious, it can really, really get expensive. Bulk buying can really work for some people, but there's some items that are just really always going to be expensive. For example, you're going to have diaper nappies that you have to buy times 2 or times 3, depending on how many kids are in nappies. there's going to be school supplies, there's going to be school fees, there's going to be uniforms, there's going to be university education. So in the beginning, when they're younger, I don't want to lie to you, the expense is not that much, especially because I breastfed, made life easier with the formula. First 6 months they exclusively breastfed, didn't feel it. But as they get progressively older and they need to go into daycares, they need to go into school, they start doing extra activities like swimming and ballet, and now it starts building because you're like, ugh, I don't have one child to pay for, I have multiple kids to pay for. So just bear that in mind with regards to financial savings and education when it comes to having multiple kids, is that financially you really have to make sure that you're ready for the long run, because short term you don't even feel it, like it's not that big of a deal. Well, for me personally, I don't know about other people, but yeah, those are the cons I have for having multiple kids. Let's move on to the pros, the positives. The reality of shooting with kids is that you're going to get interrupted. But yeah, as I was saying, next on to the pros. Number one, they will always have each other. The nice thing about having siblings is that they're literally your lifelong friends. And the reason why I had my kids in such a close gap is because I'm a twin myself. And my twin sister and I are so super close. It's crazy. Then we have a sister who's 10 years younger than us. And the three of us, guys, we literally have the best relationship that one can have. And I honestly feel like my sisters are my friends, because if I need anything, I can call them up. And I always feel like whatever I discuss with them is always going to be between us. And that kind of bonding and friendship is just better than a friendship that I could have with strangers. Of course, it took a bit of a while for us to get to where we are, but they'll just always have each other. It's just one of the best things for the rest of their lives. And they also can back each other up for the days when you're not there. I know that my twin sister was a bit more aggressive than I was, and if anybody did anything to me at school, she was there. She'd be like, "What's going on? is there trouble?" So that's the nice thing as a parent, is that I know that when they're at school, they can look out for each other, and I know that if anything happens to anyone, they have each other's backs all the time. Number two, they will keep each other entertained. I don't know, sometimes people are like, "Oh my gosh, you have 3 kids. How do you do it?" Most of the time, they're actually playing with each other. So you'll be able to find extra time when they're playing with each other. Then in terms of toys, socializing, parties, kids cafes, I found that the older they got and they started growing together, I really didn't have to be too creative with regards to that, because whenever they're together, they're playing together, and whatever item they have, they kind of make it into a plaything together. And parties and kids cafes, we still go, but it's not a need because they already have that socialization around each other. So that takes off all of that extra stress and pressure. All right, number 3, it gets easier with each child. You get to experience the cute newborn, baby stages, milestones all over again, which for me I actually really enjoyed. I really love the newborn stage, so having to go through it multiple times was actually really good. I feel like I have it out of my system. And second of all, you're just more confident, prepared. You know tips and tricks this time around that worked for you the first time or the second time around, so you just feel more prepared with every child that you have. Of course, kids aren't the same, you can't use the same methods, but you go in there knowing what parenting is about, and you know that it's trial and error. And so the more kids you have, the more you feel like, okay, I got this. I'm not as scared anymore. You've learned the routines and you just know how to. For me, I learned that it was easier for me to get my toddlers into a set routine together because they were all more or less the same age, and it just got easier to work with them. Okay, what's wrong? Okay, just wait, I'm almost done. And then number 4, which is the last one, your kids learn valuable lessons with having each other. They learn about conflict resolution. They learn about social interactions from just being at home and working with each other. They learn about love, compassion, respect, and empathy by spending time with their siblings. So the skills that they learn with regards to getting out into the world and having social skills is what they learn when they have siblings together. And I don't mean in terms of having kids like me where the age gap is silly, like pretty small. I just mean in general of just having siblings. And again, having multiple kids is not for everyone. It's okay if you're happy to have one or no kids, but I do like to share my experience. Also, Make sure you have a village that is able to help you when you are in need, and don't be scared to take a break when you need it. I take breaks, y'all. Like, I go on solo trips, I go out with my friends, I have set days during the week when I just go out and I leave and I'm by myself, just to have that recoup. My husband has the same thing too. You work as a team with someone that you with in order to ensure that you guys don't feel like you have nothing left in you at the end of the day, because having a lot of kids is a lot, and it's okay if it's not for you. I mean, not everyone is meant for it, but yeah, these are just the tips and tricks I hope will help someone else. And if you have any comments, any questions, any suggestions, in the comments, you know I love when you do that. And yeah, guys, we'll see each other in the next one. Bye.